Hey guys, Chandler here, back at my channel Alternate Journey, and today I'm going to be discussing about how to get better with new pronouns. So essentially, how to be a better ally. So the first thing to understand before we get into all these little tips and tricks I have for you guys is that this is a very personal thing for the individual that is coming out to you, and it's not just pronouns. I hate that excuse of like, oh, why it doesn't matter, it's just pronouns and everything, because at the end of the day, if someone calls you the wrong pronouns, you get offended too. Especially with trans identities, people intentionally use the wrong pronouns in order to showcase their hatred and transphobia towards that individual. Also, a lot of people, yes, they, them are gender neutral pronouns, but a lot of people will just use they, them pronouns for all trans identities. Personally, I have a problem with just because the fact if someone knows that you are, for example, a trans man and you use he, him pronouns, but they are not fully accepting of trans identities, they will use they, them pronouns in order to showcase to you that you're not a real man. If anyone comes out to you and they showcase what their pronouns are, please use their correct pronouns. Just know that some of these tips and tricks are going to be work on both ends, meaning work for you as the ally and work for the trans and non-binary individual. First little thing that I would like to say is that when you slip up with their pronouns, just correct yourself and simply move on. Don't make a big deal out of it every time and make them explain it all over again of why they changed their pronouns, why they are changing their identity, why they are possibly transitioning stuff, because it showcases that you really aren't paying attention. Also, like, you don't really need to know every little thing with that person's transition. A transition is very personal information, unless of course you have like a very close relationship with this individual, but at the end of the day, still, you don't need to know exactly what's going on with their body, the whole 9 yards and stuff like that, because that's very personal and stuff. And it's like, I don't know, they're not really asking you about your body, so it's like, why are you asking them? I understand it's a very intriguing, interesting concept for some individuals, and they don't know exactly how it works. But the thing is like, once someone comes out to you as non-binary or trans, don't automatically assume that they are your source now for that whole realm of information. Google it. Just Google it, honestly. They are not your new Google whenever you have a question about trans identities and non-binary identities and like transitioning in itself and pronouns and all this shit. If you have questions that you are afraid to ask, or you don't have that relationship with that individual to comfortably ask them without offending them, Google it. But I do suggest that you read medical journals. If you are like YouTube, like searching things, you came across this video, that's great. Yes, I have some stuff to share with you, but at the end of the day, make sure you're like watching multiple videos, because the thing is, it's like one person is not going to have the knowledge for everything. Also, some people are sharing knowledge that's not exactly correct. Not everyone's transition looks the same. So the thing is, it's like when you're trying to educate yourself, just know that and stuff, like everyone's life in general is not the same. So why would everyone's transition be the same? Just read as much medical journals and stuff like that, and I know that seems like a lot of hard work, but if you truly are interested and want to be in this person's life still with that knowledge, that's something that you kind of have to do. I mean, if you can scroll on TikTok for hours on end, and you can scroll through someone's Facebook drama hours on end, I'm pretty sure you can read one medical journal for an hour and pick up a lot of information that would answer so many questions that you have. Don't be rude when someone corrects you. Instead, say thank you. So basically, if you say the wrong pronouns, say you say she, and they're like, oh, actually it's they. Say, okay, sorry, yeah, they, thank you. But if they don't correct you, don't automatically assume that they are okay with that pronoun sometimes. You gotta realize that sometimes they are conditions themselves to be somebody else in order for safety. Meaning they couldn't be out at that time, whether or not they would be kicked out of their own homes, or they didn't know if the people within their life is accepting that, or they were just experimenting with their own gender on their own until they figured out exactly who they were. It's not to belittle you in any way. I understand the anger sometimes when someone corrects you, especially when it is something that is new within your life. Not everyone really has someone in their life that is trans or non-binary, so once they finally do, it is very eye-opening and very kind of weird at first. I was the first trans individual, and I'm pretty sure I am still the only trans individual within my family, so it was definitely interesting at first. Yes, I did have to correct my siblings, my parents, multiple times about my name and pronouns and stuff like that, but the thing is like, you would just correct and move on and stuff, and like I did sometimes, like, felt Like, I don't know if it's like anger towards themselves, that like they weren't getting it right away, or like it was just anger of like, yes, I understand, like, sorry I messed up, you don't have to keep on correcting me. But the thing is like, you learn through correction. That's what we do with kids and stuff like that. When you are trying to teach them to do something correctly, like a proper manner, or like if you're training a dog, not trying to compare humans to dogs, but like I'm just trying to explain the scenario in a way where you understand. We correct the condition and stuff like that. We keep on repeating it, because if you keep on repeating it, you are more likely to obtain the information and use it. So that's all that it's about. It's not about belittling you in any way and saying that you're transphobic every time we correct you, because that's not the case at all. We know that it is hard to try out these new pronouns, especially if you've never had any experience with it before. Every time when you get it wrong, I suggest that you repeat it several times to yourself. Try to use their correct name and pronouns even when that individual is not there. A very helpful tip that I used for myself was putting the person's pronouns and their contact information in my phone. Because for a while it was really hard for me to use they, them pronouns, because I'm a binary trans man, meaning I was an AFAB, assigned female at birth, and I'm transitioning to male, and I use he, him pronouns. So I'm binary. Once I met someone that was non-binary, it was a little hard and confusing at first. Like, that's why I put they, them pronouns next to that individual's name so I could get used to it and stuff. And that was something that really helped me, because every time when we text, it would be at the top and it would remind me to use those pronouns. And once it becomes second nature to you, you can delete that they, them next to their name or whatever the pronoun may be. Consider practicing with family and friends, meaning like get together, a small little group, have coffee together, whatever, with family and friends that know that this person is out now and they know their correct name and pronoun, and basically just share past stories. But when you're sharing those past stories, use their correct name and pronoun, meaning the name and pronouns that they came out to you as, trans or non-binary identity. This is extremely great practice for everyone involved, and also it's very helpful because it makes you realize that this person is still the same person. Just because someone is transitioning or experimenting with their name and pronoun, that doesn't mean that they are changing as a person. They are just showcasing who they truly are and becoming more confident with themselves. And isn't that kind of what we want for everyone in our family and friend group? Don't make anyone feel like a burden for having pronouns that you're not used to or are struggling with. Don't say, oh, it's just really hard for me. Pronouns aren't truly hard. We use them in our everyday lives, even they, them pronouns. When you say that pronouns are just hard and stuff, what you are doing is that you are tying the ideology of pronouns with the whole trying to understand trans identities and transitioning in itself. And the thing is that you don't really need to know fully about the transition process or trans identities to be fully accepted. You learn along the way, and it is so much easier with your support. If you show that you truly support that individual, they are more likely to be open to your questions and answer them and stuff. And like I said in the beginning, don't expect them to be your Google though. Go out and find some information for yourself if you are truly curious. But I mean, if you're just looking up at what a trans man's penis looks like, you're kind of perverted, not gonna lie. Because that's not like the most important thing, honestly. I mean, I can understand why it's a little intriguing, because it's like we do have the science for it, and that's amazing. That's actually functioning and stuff like that. Same with trans women's vaginas and stuff like that. It is truly amazing science. So if you are like interested in science and like you have a science background, sure, I can understand that. But if you're just like a average person that's just like not really scientific and just looking it up just to look it up, it's kind of a little perverted, I won't lie. And last but not least, don't make the individual alleviate your guilt. If you get it wrong, yes, apologize, but just move on. Don't keep on apologizing over and over again and explaining why it's so weird to you, explaining why it's so hard for you. You're technically forcing that individual to comfort you and say that it's okay, and you're making them put their feelings aside in order to alleviate your guilt. Overall, their dysphoria is way more of a struggle than it is for you to learn these new pronouns. Just express your love and learn along the way. Anyways, I hope some of these tricks were helpful. If you guys have any more tricks about being better with pronouns, please comment that down below. Also, comment down below any other type of content that you'd like to see on my YouTube channel, Educational Wise with Transitioning. Look at the statistics. If you find yourself watching multiple of my videos, might as well subscribe, and don't forget to click that bell down below so you get notifications whenever I upload. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.